Feature Vlogs video. Today I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown on myself, my plan for the channel, and I'll show you over my VK Calais here. Cheers. So I'll start with this, my 84 VK Calais, original colour. I bought this when I was 18 years old, so it's had it for a little over 20 years now. Was an injected 202. Did me on my P plates, had big stereo in it, lowered 19-inch wheels. Well, it was a real good cruiser, real good car for a teenage lad to cruise around in. Then I ended up with other cars. This sort of got pushed aside, and then lived in a mate's shed for a little while, and then pulled it back and finally started to put an LS in it. At the time I was building it, I was putting in the LS in it so my girlfriend at the time could do some skids in it and enter the skid comp. And then that all went to crap, and anyway, I ended up building it for myself. At one stage I even tried getting rid of the car for like $800. This is only like 8 or 9 years ago, and no one wanted it. So glad I never got rid of it. Glad I actually kept on to it. But over time it's been V6, Commodore motor, then put a turbo on that, then went back to the 202, and then yeah, so here we are, LS1. This motor here, low gear main mower, it originally started life in my VP SS Commodore, which I use as a burnout car. It had a big 12-inch filter that sort of come off the throttle body and out the bonnet. Was bit of an oddball, but I was one of the very first people to sort of start doing LS conversions into early gen Commodores. And that was just a stock bottom end, had a cam, rockers, push rods, springs, timing chain, and then Brad from Enhanced Automotive did a tune on it for me. And we put a wet shot of nitrous on it. The cam's his ground cam, it's nothing massive, it's actually a very small cam. And the car, yeah, entered life as a burnout car in my VPSS. It won quite a few comps, or entered quite a few comps, went through countless amounts of bottles and tyres. And then this motor went into my HJ Ute, exact same combo, nothing changed apart from the rear end, had a 9-inch in that. Same thing, won quite a few quite a few competitions in that, and a lot of street duties as well when it was in the Ute. And then after that it got pulled out, put into a four-wheel drive, got put into a GQ Patrol that had 8 inches of lift and 35-inch tyres and whatnot on it, and entered Malinaps in that and won a few awards for best engineered, and drag raced quite a few people, and it'd be turning tyres and lifting wheels, and yeah, shocked a lot of people, that car, with the power it had. Then went back into the HJ, and then I sort of, yeah, got out of burnouts, and then I thought, oh, I'll build another burnout car. Started building this for the missus at the time. We broke up, so I was like, oh, well, this will be my new burnout car. Put a high ram on it, two throttle bodies, 2 filters out the bonnet. Did change the camshaft, put a big cam in it, and I just couldn't get it to tick the right boxes and like fulfill my excitement levels, I suppose. So yeah, I didn't want to destroy the car. I had tubbed it at that stage, but I didn't really want to destroy it, and I was fed up with the burnout scene at the time. They were just full of whinging, whining, complaining people, and engines were starting to get up to 60, 70, 100 odd $1,000 for some people's combos, and it was, you know, got to be blown to be known. It just took all the fun out of going out and skidding with your mates. Like, you know, we'd pay $5 a tyre from for a second-hand like retreads that were out of shape. So, you know, burnouts were cheap back then, and now then it was just expensive. So came that idea, put the standard intake seat back in it, put that camshaft back in it, same bottom end, nothing. So this is a completely stock bottom end, stock headed, stock manifold motor. stock rods, stock pistons, like rotating assembly stock apart from the cam. Yeah, Turbo 400, 4000 converter, same converter that's been built by Richard at AK Converters. That was also built at the same time I done my first convert, like put this motor in the VP. So that would be coming up to 14, 15 years old now. That's how old this combo is. The camshaft, everything's that same combo. The Ute had a 9-inch. That 9-inch lived in the rear of this car for a little bit when I tubbed it. I actually got a cracking deal on some combos, 1510s, off of a mate of mine, and I just had to make them fit. Paid $600 for wheels and tyres, and I had to make them fit. Yeah, so I bought a McDonald Brothers tub kit, and then tubbed the car on some pavers in the backyard of my old house on jack stands, and just sort of taught myself as I went. So I got the wheels under there, put the 9-inch under there. That did me for quite a few years. Went drag racing in it on a 40-degree day about 8 or 9 years ago now. Did a 10.6 and absolutely blew my mind. I had like some crappy leaking Viking coilovers in it. I had no idea about drag racing or anything like that. So yeah, 40-degree day, 10.6, I was stoked with that at a 10-second car. If only I knew that sooner, I would have focused more on burnouts, focused less on burnouts and more on the racing. So after that, heaps of street duties. I mean, at the moment, this car, as it sits, probably does about 10,000 k's a year. It's got 2 child seats. I've got 2 kids. Throw them in the back and the wife, and we'll take it out on a Sunday, go for a drive down the beach, grab a feed, and then I'll normally make the wife drive home, and I'll grab a 6-pack, and she can drive it home. Countless cruises, and then yeah, heading out with the boys and getting up to party tricks and whatnot. So yeah, then only recently I went to Holden Nationals 3 years ago, wanting to better that 10.6, and ended up walking away with a 10.2. Still not a great idea of drag racing and how suspension works and whatnot, so I was absolutely stoked with that. And then the following year I went back. I'd just tubbed my dad's V8, which is just up here on the hoist, and I thought, I'm going to redo my car. Like, after doing that, it sort of amped me up to redo this, because this was shocking after it was done on the pavers. So yeah, a week and a half out from Holden Nationals, ripped the whole arse end out, put a new set of tubs in, cut the rails again. Fortunately, I hadn't cut a whole heap out of the rail when I first tubbed it, so I was able to go to the legal limit, because this car's getting engineered, which it's in the process of. So yeah, so I kept straightened all the chassis rail out and did exactly what our engineer asked for, which you got to gusset the insides of it, take photos of it, re-strengthened all the pickup points on the 4-link arms and on the panhard and stuff like that, changed the location of the panhard to bring it down, and redid the top bar for the coilovers and whatnot. So now I've got coilovers, well, I can put a nice long AFCO coilover in it, and I changed to a sheet metal 9-inch as well, so, and put wheelwood brakes on it. So basically from the rear doors backwards is all been redone. Underneath, so I've wire wheeled it all and Raptor coated it, made a new fuel tank, so that my boot was usable again, because I used to have a fuel cell in it. And obviously having kids, I needed to be able to fit a pram and all their toys and junk and stuff in there. So yeah, made a tank that comes through the floor. It only sticks up a little bit into the floor. And then the fuel pumps are recessed underneath it, 2044 pumps. And then obviously there's a nitrous bottle there as well, and a battery. Yeah, so finished it up a couple of days before Holden Nationals. Went over there, still hadn't learned about squat and anti-squat at that stage, so I just lined the rear end up by eye, thought yep, that's good enough, and then went out. When I got there, realised it was good air, it was a good conditioned track. Went to Bunnings, bought a drill, bought some drill bit, drilled my nitrous jet out, and ended up doing a PB of 989 that weekend, which I was absolutely stoked about. Another friend of mine Very similar combo, but he's on E85, slightly better compression, same sort of amount of nitrous, bigger camshaft, makes nearly 150 kilowatts more than me, and yeah, he ran a PB of in the 9s as well, so it was real good banter that weekend, playing between me and him. And then yeah, come home with 2 stock bottom end 9-second LSs back into Adelaide, which we're pretty stoked about. So yeah, getting on, this motor is 14 odd years old, built by GM, and it's been basically faultless. It's starting to get tired, it's starting to get low on oil pressure. I do have a spare motor over there. I was originally going to turbo this one and engineer it with the turbo and stuff, but I don't want to put a cage in this, and my old boy doesn't want to put a cage in his VH. That's why we're building the VK. So I'm happy, I can say, yep, that's a 9-second street car. I'm happy with that. So this is just going to stay as it is. I'll just do a refresh motor. I'll just tickle up a pair of heads. I'll still have a spot to put the nitrous, but obviously it won't get engineered with the nitrous. But yeah, so this bay will change a little bit when it comes time to it. It's very dirty at the moment, I'm sorry, but as I said, this thing gets driven to work, pick the kids up from childcare, goes out cruising, pushed in and out of the shed while I'm working on other cars, and sits out there in the rain sometimes. So yeah, it's been good. I'm glad I never sold it. It's not the most perfect looking car, but I mean, I love driving it. It drives quite nice. It's comfortable. Yeah, I can't complain. And it still gets like 12 to 12.5 litres per 100 when you're just putting along, which is excellent. Only runs on 98 fuel as well. So anyway, I'll grab the camera and I'll flick it around and I'll give you a look over it. So here we go. Stock bottom end LS1 out of a VY. It's got some nice dress up bits on it, some billet parts, and it runs a Astra power steering, which is actually down under there. PWR radiator for a 308, which I've modified, and then push forward to fit the OTR in there. There's a transcooler down in there as well, big B&M unit. VT brakes on the front, VT booster and master. Turbo 400, built by a gentleman called Kev, who used to do all our burnout car transmissions. That transmission's about 6 or 7 years old. Don't mind the stickers at the moment, that's from the last race event. Seats need a good old clean, but at one stage I did have a WH leather interior in here with electric seats and everything, and no console. And yeah, ended up, in my stupidity as a kid, got rid of all the interior, and then one day, about 8 or 9 years ago, stumbled across a complete cerulean blue interior, door cards, seats, console, dash, new carpet, roof lining, all the ABC pillar, velvet, felty stuff for $250. So I jumped on that and went in the car and got it. Used to have a full gauge cluster of autometer gauges. Now it has a Power Tune digital dash with the RPM meter there, which you might have just seen. The only downfall is it does take a while to start up. B&M Quicksilver shifter, all in the factory center console there. So yeah, that's the tubs there. Redid the whole floor from down here forward. Folded up that bit there just to cover up the tail lights, make it look a bit nicer. Whole floor's been Raptor coated, or the whole inside and underside. There's a light up under there. Equal tubs, so that's now my fuel filler there, which comes through. So I still use a standard pickup, standard filler point there. And then yeah, that's my first ever welding job, alloy welding job that I made that tank. Original convos, front and rear. They're a 15 by 10, 3 and 3/8 backspace, and a 15 by 4 in the front. And yeah, so that's the 9-inch. Has got a pair of Vikings in there at the moment. I do have a pair of AFCOs as well that I use for racing on. It's got a GJ's single piece drive shaft in it, Wilwood brakes, and a few regulators up there, and as you can see the fuel pumps are up in under there. You can fit a 325 underneath of it. If I actually show you on my father's car, it's basically the same setup as this. So follow the rail all the way forward. So that's the minimum width there, which is 45 mil. The engineers asked for as long as we don't go less than that. So I've followed that line all the way across. Same thing here, that line followed all the way across to the front. That's how much it knocked out the rail. And that's a 325 there. It actually measures 345 from wall to wall. We've still got plenty of clearance under it. So yeah, that's a rundown on my VK Calais. If you want to know anything else about it, just leave a comment below and I'll try to get back to you. Yeah, I do have some plans for it. As I said, freshen up the motor, freshen up the transmission, give the interior a good clean up, and get some paint sorted on it, some real nice paint inside and out. As you can tell, the bay is smooth, but it's not perfect. There's a lot of things I want to fix up in there. So yeah, we're going racing this weekend. It's round 3 of the Summit Racing Championship. I did enter round 2, and it actually put my smallest nitrous jet in, and I think I can only run a 10.5 without a cage. I think first pass out was a 10.47. So after that, I thought, okay, I'm going to get off at the 1,000 foot. So rolled off at the 1,000, went 10.3. So next race, I will get off at the 1,000 foot and pump the brake. Did that, ran a 10.2. And then, okay, no worries. So first round of qualifying, went out. Thought I was going to stand on the brake a lot harder, a lot sooner. Stood on the brake, did a 10.54. You beauty, no worries. I was cooling the car down, just checking over everything for round 2. And yeah, Andrew come up and said, sorry, we've dropped the ball. You shouldn't have been able to race longer than you have already. You're allowed to do, I'm allowed to do 10.45 once in qualifying for the day or per event. If you go any faster than that, you get kicked out, or not kicked out, you get put on the trailer, can't race. So they, yeah, I sort of flew under the radar. They missed that, picked it up, and then, yeah, sort of said, put it on the trailer. Went and spoke to one of their Andrew techs there about getting it teched to a 10-second bracket. They said because it's tubbed, they say it's classified as a modified now. So I fall into a SSTA class, which is Super Street TA, which then means I have to cage it to run any faster than 10.5. If I hadn't tubbed it, if I just had a factory standard car, factory standard tub, like my mate's VL that went to Holden Nationals with me, you can go up to 10.0 without a cage, which is quite weird because what I've done in this with chassis connectors and the extra strengthening in the back probably made it stronger and more safe. But anyway, who am I? They said they had to draw a line somewhere, and that was the line that they drew between chassis modifications and no chassis modifications means cage, no cage. So like I said, not going to cage it. we got the race car for that. So yeah, this weekend I've got a couple of smaller jets. I would really prefer to be able to just dial it in as a 10.5 car with holding your foot flat the whole time, rather than trying to stomp on a pedal here and there or back off. If you can just run it flat out, I think that's going to be a lot more consistent. So if I can't get it to do under a 10.5 with a 30 thou smaller jet than the smallest jet I already had, which is basically about 70 thou off of what I ran a 9 in. If that doesn't work, I'll just turn the gas off and run NA, because I know it'll be very consistent running NA. It's just slow and not fun. But if I want to keep racing on Saturday, that's what I have to do. So I'll try to do some filming on Saturday as well for the event. It'll be my first public filming event, so obviously I'll go there. I'll feel a bit weird. Yeah, so I'll try and release that video if I get any good footage. But for the channel, what I do plan on doing is getting a lot of people. I obviously know a lot of people in the car scene, as us car fellas do. So I plan on basically getting somebody to come in with a nice car and tell me their story about their car, how they got into cars, how they built the car, why they built it that way, where their passion comes from. It'll basically be like reading a magazine, but you don't have to read. We'll be doing the story in front of you. So we'll sit down, I'll put the car on the hoist, we'll go over the car, go over the person's life story, and see what makes them tick. That's mainly why the channel's called Feature Vlogs, because it's basically like a car feature. So yeah, that's a bit of a plan for it. Also, same as I do a lot of tech tips. Building the VH. I had a lot of good responses about my videos I did on that, and obviously a lot of people were keen to see me build this VK. Right or wrong, the way I do things is the way I've taught myself to do it. If there's more than one way to skin a cat, but it's the way I'm doing it, it's the way I'm building it. Follow my journey, and yeah, hopefully that you can really gain something or entertain you, learn from my mistakes even. Sorry, that's my dog, my new puppy. Chili! As well as, obviously I do a lot of caravan and camping and stuff like that as well. So there'll be bits of that thrown in throughout the year and throughout the channel as well. Please don't unsubscribe if you don't like caravan and camping, just don't watch that video. But yeah, this is my passion. It's what I like to do, getting out with my family, whether it be full driving, caravanning, camping, racing, chatting with people. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Thank you for watching. Please, if you can, like, subscribe, comment. I try and get back to everyone I can in the comments. It is a bit hard sometimes with work and filming and building stuff. So yeah, I'll try and get back to you. If you have any ideas, or if you have a car that you want me to feature, or you want to come have a yarn, hit me up. I'd love to have a chat with you. So cheers guys, and see you again in the next one.